Hey guys, and welcome to Beating the Press podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things football. If that's your type of thing, click the like, comment, and subscribe down below. In today's podcast, we're going to be talking about Liverpool and Chelsea. We're going to be talking about everything that's going wrong there at the moment. We're going to be talking about Arsenal and Manchester United, everything that's going right there, and we'll also be discussing Gareth Bale. News is literally just broke that Gareth Bale will be retiring this season. So we're going to be discussing all of that and more next. As always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Ty. And it wouldn't be right if I didn't ask you how you are doing. We've had a long time off. I think we've had around about a month off. That's the reason I've had to film this intro about 3 times. So how are you doing, Ty?
Yeah, you guys want to say this, but it's literally 3 goals. I'm like, is this the first time we've done it? I know we've done it for a few weeks, but no, I'm all right. I'm all right. There's been a few reasons why we haven't done it for a while. It's obviously been Christmas, New Year. I had COVID. I said COVID. I think it was flu, but it came up as negative. But it was
No
COVID.
excuses.
Complete wipeout. I was in A&E, so it was just a bit of a drama, and yeah, it just couldn't fit anything in. But now we're sort of back to some sort of normality again. And a group of our mates constantly say to us as well, "You never do a podcast when Liverpool are playing shit, do you?" Well, this is our moment, and we thought, yeah, they've got a point. They've got a point. You know, we only sort of sing when we're winning essentially, but now it's absolutely right. We're gonna have a little look at Liverpool. What's not going? There's obviously a lot of things. It's more than just a simple one thing. Which the common thing at the moment seems to be need and renew midfield. I think that's part of it, but there's bigger underlying issues there as well. And then obviously Chelsea as well. They made the change. Results have just gone from bad to worse, and I think if Abramovich was in charge, Graham Potter will be sacked by now. There's obviously Arsenal who have had a phenomenal first 5 months. Man City do Man City things, but Man United are just sort of like they're going along, and I still think there's question marks, but the way the league is, they're taking advantage of it, and they're in a position now where the next step is they need to start beating proper teams. They're not really beating much at the moment. I know they beat Arsenal, but the Arsenal game was very it was dominated by Arsenal. It was similar to Man United, how they played in the Solskjaer and how they played for the last God knows 8-9 years. Whenever they play against a big team, they always counter attack. It's the easiest way to play, to defend deep and break and play that way. It's when you take the game to the top team. I think that's the mark of a top team, and that's the level they've got to get at. But yeah, there's quite a few. We've obviously got loads to catch up on, and obviously Gareth Bale and his opportunity for him to play more golf. I think that's got a role to play in it as well. His decision that he's made, but I think the biggest thing for him was, I think he knew he was going to call it a day after the World Cup. He just sort of
but he actually said that he was going to continue playing. I don't know whether it was one of those things where you're in the moment and you're thinking, oh yeah, this is great, I want to do it all again. But yeah, so obviously that's where we'll start. I've heard a lot today, especially on the radio, that he's the best British player ever. Just your thoughts on that.
I mean, I know why people say it's because the number of Champions Leagues he's won. Just that is it. Simply that. I mean, but in terms of actual play, I mean, it's tough. We're going to come back to that same thing again of players from different eras. Do you know what I mean? You ones that you spring out like Kenny Dalglish, George Best, they were like unbelievable. Well, I've never seen them play. We've never seen them play. And then you're looking at sort of more recent players, and you're looking at the English players. I think it's something that the Welsh are really sort of clinging to, because he was such a brilliant player, and he has done it at the highest level. So there's an absolute argument for it to be had. People, you can't just laugh it out and say, "Oh, that's ridiculous," because it's not. There's an argument to be had, but I wouldn't be able to say with absolute certainty that he is the best British player ever. I think there's just too many players about. It's not like he's Messi, where he's that far ahead of everyone. I think he's in the conversation, but for me, no. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people making an argument for it. People Mark, but I couldn't really say either way. And I think it's in the conversation.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say
a lot of people base it upon achievements, and it's always about achievements. Like if you think about Paul Gascoigne, he's going to be named up amongst them, but he won't have won nowhere near as many trophies as it.
He won a League Cup. Did he win a League Cup or an FA Cup? Did he even win a league? Do you know, there's he's not won much, really, you know what I mean?
even when you go as far as like, like Steven Gerrard, people say, oh, he never won a Premier League. It's not all about the trophies that you win. And, you think, did Gareth Bale contribute in each season that he was at Real Madrid? He was in and out, yeah. But yeah, no doubt, a great player, but 33-year-old, like surely, MLS or just to stop, full stop. Can you understand that?
No, I mean, I do. I think it comes. There's a couple of reasons generally why players carry on. Firstly, it's money, isn't it? Secondly, to experience a different part of the world, and if once they've sort of like knocked it off on the head for the top leagues. The issue with Gareth Bale, I think, is you feel like he's had that retired mentality for a number of years, and the only thing that's kept him going has been Wales. Like if you remember, he's been on loan to Spurs. He like spent a season on the bench for Real Madrid, where he did a couple of seasons, didn't even really play. And the only thing that kept him going was Wales, and he seemed to turn it on for Wales. If it wasn't for Wales, I think he'd have probably retired even earlier. He's got the money, absolutely. He doesn't need the money. He's already in America, so I think he'll end up going back to Wales. I don't know. He obviously loves Wales, and that's where his sort of heart is. He's giving it a go in America. But yeah, I like you. I saw 33. I'm like, he's not like he's got any injuries as well. You know what I mean? You just change the way you play. You're not. He hasn't got the explosive pace that he has. Just change the way you play. Players are benign. Just play up top all the time. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, or just whatever you can play, and that doesn't mean you're doing as much running. So yeah, I mean, I think if he was playing regularly in the top leagues and then he cut it, then I think that'd be more of a shock. But you sort of felt it was coming at some point, and I just the fact that it's happened, I'm not massively surprised. And then I just forgot how young he was, and I'm just like 33. Wow.
Yeah. So moving on, we will be obviously discussing the Premier League, more specifically Liverpool. We'll start with Liverpool, seeing as how that's the one that most people want us to cover, especially the haters. You are. So we're looking at the table. Obviously, Liverpool is sitting not so pretty in sixth. Arsenal, Manchester City, who obviously been doing bits recently, catching up, and obviously Man United. Seem to be catching up a little bit, but Liverpool, if we look at the most recent form, it doesn't seem too bad. Obviously, we've our last 5 Premier League games, only lost the one game, but there's bigger problems, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean our performances haven't been great. It's easy to say we won 5 in the bounce. Even those games that we won the 5 in the bounce, we were never in control. And I think that's the biggest thing, that the message that would be sent out. Even when we're winning and we're in front, we don't have control of the game. When we're losing and chasing the game, we're so susceptible to a counter attack, and it's so easy for teams to play through us. There's a number of things that are wrong with us at the moment. I just think with this, the biggest thing for me is, we watched us. I mean, obviously we've seen us play for the last 3 decades, but under the Jurgen Klopp era, our identity has been our intensity, and the biggest alarming thing for me is we're getting outworked, bullied essentially by teams that have got a bigger. And I think this is the word. This is the word that's probably going to end. That I'm going to end up the reason why bigger desire, more desire than us to win the game. And that's never a good thing. Once you get to that point, there's question marks that are going to be asked of players. So yeah, my argument was to when I was trying to defend Liverpool as we do because we're Liverpool fans, will be players have the drop off of form. Drop off. There's 2 things. There's drop off in form, and there's a loss of desire to win football games or just to happy to cruise through. If it's the second, it's time to shift them on and move them out of the club. First one can happen. Everyone has loss of form. That's absolutely fine because quality class always comes through. It's the second one that's the worrying bit, and I think there's quite a few players. I say not quite a few. I think there's a number of players that fit in that camp at the moment, and that's the stark reality and the worrying bit for me. If you look back, we're in January now, so if we look back 6 months, 7 months, we were close to doing what no other club has ever done and will ever do again. We played every single game in a football season and we lost. We were 2 games away from winning the Champions League, Premier League, quadruple, and everything. Do you know what I mean? Just everything it was just unbelievable. There's another the other argument is it could be burnout. Yeah, I get the burnout, but you've had 7 months. You know what I mean? You get back on it now. And then the other bit of me is thinking, well, we had that really shit season in COVID, and I know we had 6 injuries, we had 6 centre halves that were injured, and then we came back the next season and we won the league. So it's like, where are we with it? Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things, and it's the analysis, and I'm sure Jurgen Klopp and the Liverpool team, the analysis department, have all done that work. They've done the due diligence, so working on it, trying to get it right. But it just feels like every time we're watching, it's the same. And we're just vulnerable to counter-attacks. It's not Trent anymore. It used to be, Trent's a vulnerability. It's not. It's any Robertson's a vulnerability. You know what I mean? Van Dijk's out injured now. Van Dijk's been okay, even though he's not been there. It's like the high line just all over the place. Kanate, Matip, even Alisson. I mean, Alisson did something. He's probably been our best. And he did what he did against Wolves. And then, I mean, the other thing as well is the front three aren't the front three. We've got Salah and Nunes, who Nunes would not have been starting and playing so regularly had we had the rest of the forwards fit. Because any time a new player comes to Liverpool, Klopp always gives him 4, 5, 6 months to bed in. It was with Fabinho, same with Fabinho, same with Robertson, same with Firmino, even Wijnaldum. All these players have had opportunities to bed. With Nunes, it's like, well, we either play him up front or we've got Oxlade-Chamberlain up front. Do you know what I mean? That's the sort of depths of desperation we're in at the moment. So it's like, throw him in the middle, throw him in and see what he's doing. And he's done okay. His numbers are fine. He's been a threat. I know he's missing chances, but he's so raw. Let's not look at Nunes as probably being one of our better players. Just gives us that bit of fight and a bit of structure. And then you've got nothing on the left wing because Ox is having to play. Gakpo's just coming, but he's played one game, So, and then you look at that front three, it's just gone, Even if you went, say, Salah, Firmino and Jota, or Salah and Jota and Diaz, it feels like a Liverpool front three. There's loads of energy, everything's there, and it feels a bit more coherent. At the moment, there's no structure to it. It's like there's no relationship between the players. You're having to get players that haven't played together to stick them and hope something happens. Salah and Nunes have been playing together for about 2 months, but then they've had the World Cup in middle as well. So there's been so broken, and there's no opportunity for that relationship to come together. And you might have noticed I've not spoken about the midfield at all yet.
Well,
so all those other issues are part of it, and then you've got the midfield issue as well.
Yeah, it's right. It's like inconsistent. It's an inconsistent season. You mentioned it there with the World Cup. It's an inconsistent back line. It's an inconsistent midfield. It's an inconsistent front line. We never managed to get the same 4 at the back. We never managed to get the same 3 in the middle, and we never seem to get the middle, the front 3 as well. But I normally like to share things like, on our screens and that. And the main reason why I brought this up here, so this is footystats.org, very good website, quite informative. And I don't like to go granular on stats because sometimes they can be, quite deceiving. But one thing I do notice, which you mentioned about our front line, is our XG. And our XG, if you look amongst all of these teams here, there's an anomaly there, 2.35, and that's Liverpool. You've got Manchester City at 2.37. We miss a number of chances as well. We also, if you look at the stats for conceding over 2.5 goals, it's 71%. The only team higher than us is Fulham. Both teams to score, you've got 71%, we're the highest in the league. It's just down to inconsistency of the team, like purely inconsistency. If we go back into the team itself, some might say that it's down to bad luck. It's not down to bad luck. It's just the way that we're playing at the moment. But if we look at the XG for per match, we got 2.35. That's how many goals we're expected to score, and we actually managed to score 2 goals per game. XG against per match is a massive 1.36, and we concede about as many as we should. Now, if you were to pin it down on one particular problem, would you say it was down to the defense? Would you say it down to the attack, or would you just say it's a combination of everything?
It's a combination of everything. And I'll go back to the front thing and explain why the front 3 is so important. So when Liverpool were top, brilliant, do you know what I mean? And you just think they kept getting referred to as the red arrows, and the energy levels were so high.
Yeah.
The press always started from the front. Now, we don't have a front 3 because we don't. We've got Salah, who's the same player. You've got Nunes, who's new and is trying to get used to the way we're playing. and then you've got a left-sided front three who isn't that same player. I mean, we played 4-4-2 in certain games as well. So then that structure sort of changed. The midfield three's changed as well. And that, it used to be Henderson, Fabinho, Wijnaldum. That used to be our front three. But that was like 4 years ago when the younger energy levels are higher. It's easier to press, it's easier to get out. Before they even got to the back four. So the back four could squeeze high, the front three, and then you'd have Henderson and Wijnaldum in the wide area. So it's almost like a 5 pressing. And the opposition couldn't get their heads down. So when they're playing the ball forward, there's no accuracy. But now they're allowed to get their head up and they can place side to side, and then they can sort of work out which side they're going to target, whether it's Trent side, Robertson side, whatever it is, down the middle as well. Or they're playing really high. Let's just run from deep, and let's get our midfield runners to really run from deep and time those runs. So it's a combination of everything. And when you break it down, it all starts from the front as well. And I know I've said it, but the Firmino, when he used to say his numbers were horrible, they were for a centre forward, but it's what he brought to the rest of the team and how he pressed and how much he made a difference. Now, this is obviously playing an effect. The other bit is, I mean, obviously the XG rating. That's a really telling stat, because we're actually playing going forward. We're okay. We're fine. It's the second bit. I mean, the going forward bits, we're good. It's obviously our conversion rate at the moment is horrendous, and obviously Nunes has got a part to play in that. But Nunes has hit the woodwork more than any other player as well in the league. There's more. There is luck in it, because it's inches. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's. I mean, there's chance that he's absolutely missing. But the ones that are really close that should be going out, the Ben Mee one against Brentford. I mean, he's just gone round it. Everything's perfect, and Ben Mee somehow got back and he's gone. It was interesting. Klopp said before Brentford scored, we could have been 2 up, and he's right. We had 2 really good chances. It's those sort of things, everything that sort of can go. It's almost like last season when we went every game and you had to win, and you had to go your way to do what had happened for it to happen what the way it figured out. You know what I mean? Going every single game in the league. It feels like we're getting a bit of payback of that now. It's never like that. It's never you don't think like that, but. That we're not getting those moments look like anything that can go. Opposition are getting the first chance, the opposition are getting this goal, and that's happening a lot. The teams are still getting these sort of chances last season, but they weren't scoring. You know what I mean? They wouldn't fall perfectly for them. They wouldn't end up scoring worldies, or they just wouldn't. Everything will better. Now, midfield is an issue which needs resolving and looking at. It's interesting, and Carragher mentioned this in Sky. So we haven't had a new midfielder for 4.5 years. So if we go through the list of midfielders, so you've obviously got Henderson, Thiago, Fabinho, which are essentially the first 3. We moaned. I mean, I remember we moaned a lot back saying, "Oh, we get Thiago in. We need someone to control the midfield." We've got him in now, so there's nothing. That's fine. And we won the league. You know what I mean? We did really well with him in as well. So it's not like he's brought us down or anything. Now he's not the negative. It's the other stuff around us. So you've got Milner who's going to be out of contract. You've got Keita who's going to be out of contract. Ox is going to be out of contract. Harvey Elliott's not good enough at the moment. Curtis Jones is in that same bracket as well. Harvey Elliott was a winger. He's converted into a centre midfield. Unfortunately, it's just not. He can't play in that system. He doesn't have the energy for it. Our midfield's turning into a very technical midfield, and doesn't fit the way we want to play. So if you want to press high and you want a high line, you can't play with technical. You can have a technical midfield, but it's a technical midfield better be running its bollocks off all over the pitch. You know what I mean? Well, to cover the space, not all over the pitch, but have that real high intensity, which at the moment it doesn't have. So it needs looking at. Everyone's saying Bellingham. Bellingham's really good going forward. It's absolutely brilliant. Our issue is we need like a Wijnaldum. We need another, defensive, a midfielder who's more defensively minded, not just focusing on defense, because Wijnaldum obviously gave us a bit going forward as well, almost like a younger Henderson as well. So there's a lot of things that need looking at. But I think if you sort of take a step back as well, the injuries that we've got, and if we had a consistent team, I think Jota and Diaz are really big injuries for us, because they affect the way that we've been able to play, because them two have got loads of energy up top. And if you go Salah, Jota, Diaz, that just suddenly gives us a better look and a better feel. Even for me, being injured. So there's a lot of things that are just like not quite right. But the biggest thing I think, and I don't know, this will be players that have to answer this, and how honest they are, footballers, have they still got that desire? You've nearly won it, and it's a come down from that. So I think there's loads of question marks.
Yeah, well, obviously you've pretty much essentially got the same almost back four with Trent, Robertson, Van Dijk, and let's say Matip and Allison. That's the concerning thing for me. It's not the forward line because we're creating chances. You can see, don't read everything into the stats, but the XG tells us that we're creating chances, and it's visible for us to see. The worrying thing is how easy we cut through. Now, I don't know. Well, I just want to ask your opinion. You fix the midfield. Does that defense still stand up in today's game? I know we're only talking like 5 months ago. They were, winning everything, but there's a lot of questions over Van Dijk, potentially over Matip. I actually think Trent Alexander-Arnold has done probably the best over the last, since the World Cup. Just do you think that this defense, particularly Virgil van Dijk, can still handle it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you don't. I go back to that same thing. You can be out of form for a little bit, but when you clash, you clash. Do you know what I mean? That's just like it's been throughout the history of the game, and everyone has a dip of form, and suddenly writing them off. It's like so easy to do. Virgil van Dijk's one of the best centre halves in the world. There's no doubt about that. I think the other bit is partner, and I think it's going to be Kanate long term. I still think Matip and now is maybe he's the one that's sort of just falling off, and coming to an end. And then it's going out and looking because I mean Gomez. I think you see Gomez more as a right back than he's a coach from Trent and he does the centre half. So we need to go and start looking for another centre half now. And it's just you've just got to the bit where I think we did fall down is when we won the Champions League and the Premier League. Oh yeah, we didn't go out and buy big players because you need to strengthen when you're at the top. Fergie always used to do that at Man United and he was really really good at it. And in buying in knowing players, he'd got to get rid of players, even though people think, wow, I'm shocked he's got rid of them. He got rid of them at the right time. And it's something I think Klopp's probably the only thing. And I'd say Guardiola to an extent as well is where they're just not they're not as ruthless as Fergie when it comes to getting rid of players. And I think they sometimes have got favourites for too long, hold on to them for too long. So I think that's just a slight issue. I think he obviously started putting Aguero on the bench, but he did. I don't think he had it in him to just completely get rid of him. I think similar to Klopp, I think Milner's had his time. I think he should be anywhere. I don't think there's players like Ox and there's quite a few players there that I'm just thinking should be. Firmino, could he have gone a year earlier? Then you get another player in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions about this. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, what's going to solve it? I think back to getting. I think the first thing is doing the basics right because at the moment we're not doing the basics right. I know it sounds so stupid, but just like giving teams, winning 50-50s, not letting the ball bounce, if it's there, just not doing individual mistakes. Just, you know what I mean? When you're 50-50s, do the basics right, no individual mistakes, and it gives you something to work on because we'll score. It's just look to play tight and make it hard for teams to score against you.
Yeah. Spot on. Right, so we're going to quickly cover the rest of the teams. Chelsea at the moment. I'm just looking over the most recent form and looking over the last 10 games. If you look at their run there, lost, drew, won, lost, drew, won. Graham Potter, are you having it? Are you still having it? Because you're a big advocate of his.
Oh, I mean, he's a good manager. I don't think there's any doubt about it. He's obviously doing great at Brighton. The issue with managers when they move to a bigger club is understanding. Yeah. What did you say, sorry?
Getting time.
Getting time, yeah. That's exactly it. You've got, and I said it to you before we came on, I said, if Abramovich was in charge, he'd be sat by now.
Yeah.
Because Abramovich doesn't care, he's had like 6 months, and they've gone from bad to worse, and I think that's the big issue and the alarming issue. I have not seen them suddenly play differently or better than Thomas Tuchel. I mean, you heard Chelsea fans singing for Thomas Tuchel and even Abramovich's name, and I think I didn't get. I think Thomas Tuchel's one of the best managers in the world. I didn't get the Thomas Tuchel sack initially, but when it came up, I thought Graham Potter made it's that you've got to give managers an opportunity. Similar to Eddie Howe, Newcastle, Eddie Howe obviously doing brilliant. Graham Potter not quite so much. I mean, if this continues for the next month, then the alarm bells are ringing. But then it's like, could Ted Bowley and the Chelsea board think, right, okay, we've got him in for the long run here, and they knew that there's going to be some pain before it happens. So for me, I have had a bet on him as the next manager to go. Well, that's only a couple of quid, 11-1. I can't turn it down. So yeah, I just think Yeah, it is a results business, and if they continue the performance against Man City, it's a performance that would really worry me more than anything else.
Yeah.
Well, there is rumours of João
Manchester
Felix coming in, so that could help him up front because Aubameyang's done, finished. He feels like a Gareth Bale player to me. I could see him retiring anytime.
Manchester United, we're moving on to those. They are, would you say, flying at the minute in the Premier League? You know, I don't think they've conceded in 5 games now. So, 3-0,
I'd say
1-0, 3-0. Oh,
yeah,
no, 4 games, yeah.
I'd say they're very functional. That's the way I describe them, and I think they're getting moments where they still feel like a very much counter-attacking team to me, and there's no identity to them. And I've had tried to have this conversation with United fans, but they're not having it. They just blow their load, and that's it. They don't care what I say on, and they're very sort of tunnel vision. It feels like when Solskjaer he's only been there for 5 months, and if you ask me what is Man United style of play, I don't know. I just still think they're mimicking what they did there. Yeah, they've changed some players around. He's got rid of Ronaldo, which I think had to be done, and that's obviously instantly helped the whole mood around the place. There's question marks what they do with Harry Maguire because he ain't going to be sitting on the bench forever. Luke Shaw's not centre half. There's obviously going to have to move in there. And again, and I think Roy Keane mentioned the things that they've not really done much. They've not beaten anyone, so there's that question mark. There's a lot of question marks in them on there. But football fans always look sort of very after every result. It's like if you lose, it's the best team in the world. If they win, best team in the world. If they lose, it's like get rid of the board and the managers. But yeah, no, I think it's still questions to answer. I think.
Okay, Arsenal. Sitting pretty at the top of the Premier League. How impressed have you been with them? And do you think that this is going to continue? Or do you think with the last result and the upcoming fixtures, obviously they've got the North London derby at the weekend, do you think this is a run that's going to continue? Or do you think it's going to come to an abrupt end?
No, I think Man City away. I think the issue with Arsenal is Arsenal fans are lose the shit. It's Arsenal. It's Arsenal. You've got, and then the other thing, I think Arteta isn't the manager you want at the end of a game. He shows too much emotion at the end of the game when he gets interviewed, and I think you need a sense of composure. Klopp and Guardiola, they always seem to have that, regardless of the result. I mean, obviously the big games, sometimes Guardiola loses it, and Klopp to an extent it does as well. But with Arteta, it's every game, you know what I mean? And he's like, it just doesn't feel like he's in complete control. He may well be, and it's his persona is trying to sell. To me, I just don't think he is probably not the right way to go about it if you're going for the league. And I just think there's going to be games where they're going to struggle. You're not going to win it within catching up top. You need to get a centre forward in.
Yeah, well, their upcoming games have got Tottenham, Manchester United, Everton away, Brentford, and Manchester City. So if you're coming out of those fixtures and you're still top, then I will definitely start considering them as genuine title contenders. I almost feel like the season has been pushed back an extra month this year because of the World Cup. This for me would typically be would still be in like the December month, and you generally find out where people are January, end of February. Like I remember a season where Tottenham were still top in I think it was January, and they ended up third in a 2-horse race. So there's a long time to go.
They're still in Europe. They're still in Europe as well, aren't they? So they've not really. Arsenal in Europe, aren't they? Am I mistaken?
Arsenal still in Europe. Yeah.
So that's gonna affect it as well. You've not been in a title race. Liverpool and Man City obviously have title race. Europe Premier League, and that takes a lot out of you as well. So be interesting to see where they finish.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. Right, so that's everything that needed to be discussed on the Premier League. Sorry it took so long for us to get back on. We'll be doing more regular Premier League, Champions League coming up as well. So that's something to look forward to. Anything that you want to say before we shoot off today, Ty? Anything primary?
No, just from you. Question of the day from you, if you can.
Oh, question of the day for me. Do you think Arsenal will go all the way? I know it's early in the season, but we'd just like your thoughts and comments down below. So with that being said, you want to say anything, Ty, before we leave?
No, that's it. Brilliant. Like I said, it will be a bit more regular now. We've had stuff going on, but yeah, we're back in the game now.
Yeah, excellent.
See you
guys. Catch you later. Bye.